Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you my mushroom sausage stuffing. Gluten-free, of course. And it's not a whole lot of ingredients, as you can see. And I don't know about you, but I don't put my stuffing in my turkey. I like to make it separate. But if you like to stuff your turkey, by all means. But I just do mine in a separate casserole dish. I've got my casserole dish greased with bacon grease. You could use butter. And then I've got celery, mushrooms, onion, and garlic, and of course bread. This is one of my gluten-free breads that I make. I'll give you a link to that video below. But whatever your favorite gluten-free bread is. And you can cut this up into cubes and then let it dry out overnight for a couple of days. Or you can do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to cut it up and put it on a cookie sheet and toast it in the oven. And you don't even have to do this step either. But I've noticed when I'm making stuffing, if I start with toasty bread that's kind of dried out, or even a couple of day old bread that's dried out, it doesn't seem to get as soggy when I'm baking it. But if you like your stuffing that way, you can always add more liquid or not toast your bread either. But this is what I do. And I'm just going, I'll probably cut this little end here a little bit more. Nothing fancy. Just the same size pieces. And this loaf of bread is made with sorghum flour. And it tends to get a little bit dark when you toast it, but it isn't burnt. And I just make sure they're in an even layer on this cookie sheet. And I've got my oven preheated to 350. I'm going to start toasting my bread. And you'll notice I didn't put any butter or anything on the cookie sheet. The purpose is to dry them out. These little bits of breadcrumbs I'm just going to dump in my casserole dish. Don't want to waste anything. While my bread is toasting, I'm going to start cutting up my mushrooms, my onions, garlic, celery. And I have 1 pound of sausage in this pot over here. The reason I'm doing it in a pot instead of a frying pan is once I get everything cooked, it's easier to just stir in the breadcrumbs. You could even stir it in your casserole dish, but the pot works really good. And this recipe is so easy to make ahead. If you were planning your Thanksgiving or your holiday meal, you could get all of your vegetables and your sausage cooked, get your bread toasted, and then on the day that you're going to bake it, add a little bit of extra chicken stock if it's too dry, and then just bake it then. So I'm going to cut up all of my vegetables and then I'll show you how it all comes together. Garlic is done. Just set that aside. Now we'll move on to the onion. I got a plate to put my vegetables on after they're cut up. There's so many tips and tricks about how you make it so you don't cry when you're cutting up an onion. And I never remember any of them when I come to cutting up an onion. And I go pretty smallish pieces of onion. And that's about a medium-sized onion. And then my celery, it's 1 small bunch of celery. And I'm going to cut it up about the same size as my onion. And I said I was going to cut up my celery to be in the same sizes as my onion. But it's bigger. So now that that's done, I'm going to start cutting up my mushrooms and then I'll just put them back into this bowl here. And if they're really big, cut off the ends. If they're really big, I'll go a little bit smaller. But if they're little, I'll just quarter them. Don't forget about your bread in the oven. This recipe is easily doubled. And you would just do a bigger casserole pan. Oh, something like an 11 by 12 or I don't think that's even a pan size. There's a pan size, the size of it's escaping me, but it's bigger than a 9 by 13. It's an 11 by something. I have a pan that size. And that is the size that I use when I double this recipe. And these are the little baby Bella mushrooms, I think is what they're called. Or cremini mushrooms. But you could use white button mushrooms, whatever kind of mushroom you like. Even a variety of mushrooms would be really good. Or no mushrooms if you don't like mushrooms. I was going to put my mushrooms in that bowl, but I think I'll just leave them right here on the cutting board. I'm going to clean up a little bit and then I'll bring you in and show you how we cook it and put it all together. I'm not really worried about turning it over, but I just move it around a little bit. You can see it's not even sticking. But they're getting nice and toasted, just a little bit longer. So turn your pan on about medium high. I have 1 pound of sage sausage. You could use a spicy sausage, regular sausage. So cook this till it's almost all the way done. And my bread is as toasted as I'd like it to be. I'm just going to leave it right here to dry out a little bit more. Once your sausage is almost all the way cooked, add in your onions and celery. I have some salt and pepper. Add however much you like. I'll probably do about a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And stir that around. When your onions and celery are starting to soften, add in your garlic. And I have 2 teaspoons of sage, and just stir that in. Add in your mushrooms. My mushrooms are not going in the pot. And give it a good stir. And once you've got this all combined and it's cooking down a little bit, add in 1 cup of chicken stock. Put a lid on that, and you want it to come up to a simmer. It's already simmering. But you want the celery and onions to be tender. Mushrooms I don't care so much about if they're really soft or not. They'll get soft in the oven. But unless you like crunchy celery, you want it to be soft before we put it in the oven. Before we put it in this pan and put it in the oven. And you can hear how crunchy my bread is. And you might not think that 1 cup of stock is enough, but you can see how much liquid there is in here now. Once your vegetables are as cooked as you'd like them to be, I bring it off of the heat just so it's not rapidly boiling when I add in the bread. Even though it is toasted, it still kind of crumbles. And if you've worked with gluten-free bread before making stuffing, it can very quickly turn into a gluey mess. Give myself some room here. I'm gonna start adding in my bread, give it a good stir, and then put it in our casserole dish. Even all of the crumbs. And very gently stir this together. Once you've got that all stirred together, I'm going to pour it into my casserole dish. Spread it out as you go so it doesn't spill over the sides. And I just flatten it out. That looks really good. I'm going to put this in the oven. It's already hot, but you want this to finish cooking all the way and all cook together with the bread in there. And I don't know about you, but I really like it when it gets crispy on top. And even then, with the bacon grease, it should get crispy all the way around. This is just how I like stuffing. I like it to be on the crispy side. And besides, if it gets too crispy, you can always just put gravy on it and that will soften it up too. And my oven is still at 350, so in the oven, I'll check it at about a half hour. It looks really good. It smells really good. It's really hot. You just saw it come out of the oven. Let's get a spoonful here. The bottom of my bowl is hot. It's really good. You could make this vegetarian and not put the sausage or the chicken stock in and just use maybe some peppers or other vegetables that you like and vegetable stock. And it's a good side dish for any time of year, not just for the holidays. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and we'll see you on the next one.